Welcome back, students. Today we are going to discuss with the topic that is poverty as seen by social scientists. Social scientists use different kinds of indicators to understand poverty. Most commonly used indicators related to the levels of income and consumption of goods. Now, poverty is also observed using other indicators of poverty like illiteracy level, lack of general resistance due to malnutrition, lack of job opportunities, lack of access to safe drinking water, sanitation, etc. Social scientists these days are concerned about the concept of social exclusion and vulnerability. Now, what is social exclusion? According to this concept, poverty must be seen in the terms of the poor having to live only in a poor surrounding with other people. They are excluded from enjoying social equality. Social exclusion is both a cause as well as consequence of poverty. It is a process through which individuals or groups are excluded from facilities, benefits, and opportunities that others enjoy. A typical example of this is caste system in India, in which people belonging to certain castes are excluded from equal opportunities. Now we'll talk about vulnerability. Vulnerability to poverty is a measure which describes the greater probability of certain communities of becoming or remaining poor in the coming years. It is analyzed on the basis of the greater risks these groups face at the time of natural disasters. Which are the natural disasters? Earthquakes, tsunamis, etc. In fact, a vulnerability describes the greater probability of becoming more adversely affected than other people when bad times comes for everybody, whether it is flood or an earthquake. Next topic, we have poverty line. Students, poverty line, it is commonly a way to identify poor. A common method used to measure poverty is based on the income or consumption levels. A person is said to be poor if his or her income or consumption level falls below a given minimum level necessary to fulfill the basic needs. Poverty line may vary with time and place. Each country uses an imaginary line that is considered appropriate for its existing level of development and its accepted minimum social norms. For example, a person not having a car in the United States may be considered poor. In India, owning of a car is considered a luxury. Now, students, while determining the poverty line in India, a minimum level of food requirement, clothing, educational and medical requirement, etc., are determined for subsistence. The present formula for food requirement while estimating the poverty line is based on the desired calorie required. The calorie needed vary depending on age, sex, and the type of work that a person does. The expected average calorie requirement in India is 2400 calories per person per day in rural areas. But on the other hand, in urban areas, it is 2100 calories per person per day. Now, since people living in rural areas, they engage themselves in more physical work. Calorie requirement in rural areas is higher than urban areas. Now, students, on the basis of these calculations, for the year 2011-2012, the poverty line for a person was fixed at rupees 816 per month for rural areas and rupees 1000 for urban areas. Now, a family of 5 members living in rural areas and earning less than about 4080 per month will be below the poverty line. Similarly, a family in urban areas would need a minimum of rupees 5000 per month to meet the basic requirements. The poverty line in India is estimated periodically. It is normally every 5 years by conducting sample surveys. These surveys are carried out by National Sample Survey Organizations, that is NSSO. Now students will discuss about poverty estimates. Now look at the table. There is a decline in poverty ratios in India from about 45% in the year 1993-94 to 37% in 2004-2005. The proportion of people living below poverty line, it has further come down to about 22% in 2011-2012. Now, if this trend continues, people below poverty line may come down to less than 20% in the next few years. Although the percentage of people living under poverty declined in the early 2 decades, the number of poor declined from 407 million in 2004-2005 to 270 million in 2011-2012, with an average annual decline of 2.2%. Now students, let us discuss about the vulnerable groups. Social groups which are most vulnerable to poverty are scheduled caste and scheduled tribe households. Among the economic groups, the most vulnerable groups are the rural agricultural labor households and the urban casual labor households. The graph shows the percentage of poor people in all these groups. Although the average for people below poverty line for all groups in India is 22 or 43 out of 100 people belonging to scheduled tribes in rural areas are not able to meet their basic needs. Similarly, 34% of casual workers in urban areas are below poverty line. About 34% of casual labor farm in rural areas and 29% of scheduled castes are also poor. Now, the double disadvantage of being a landless casual wage labor household in the socially disadvantaged social groups of the scheduled caste or the scheduled tribe population highlights the seriousness of the problem. Now students, the recent studies have shown that except scheduled tribe households, all other 3 groups, which are the 3 groups? Scheduled caste, rural agricultural laborers and the urban casual labor households, have seen a decline in poverty since the year 1990s. Apart from these social groups, there is also inequality of income within the family, and some of the poor families all suffer, but some suffer more than others, especially women, elderly people and the female infants, as they are denied of equal access to the resources available to the family. Women, children, and the old people are the poorest of the poor.